Welcome in. Thanks for joining us. Of course, we'll get you caught up on the news of the day. And we have another ABC 10 investigation tonight. This time, it's about whether or not poison should be used to control a major threat in Lake Tahoe. Invasive weeds are out of control in the Tahoe Keys, and there's a very emotional debate over a possible solution. So that's coming up a little bit later in the show, around 6:45 or so, if you want to check that out. But first, let's get to our first point of the night. We start in South Natomas. A car carrying 11 people crashed into a tree 2 weeks ago, killing 2 kids and 1 adult. Tonight, those family members tell us that they don't believe that this was intentional, even though a mom, who was also the driver, has been charged with the crimes. In tonight's main point, our Jeannie DeWin spoke with the family about what happened and what comes next.
Now, that crash happened along San Juan Road here just about 2 weeks ago, and behind me here you can see that balloons, stuffed animals, and candles are still left over for the 3 people that passed away from this crash. Now tonight we hear from the family impacted and why they believe this is truly just a terrible accident. It was supposed to be a short drive.
I know Precious know that corner like the back of her hand. I've lived there 20 years and so have she.
Sacramento police say 28-year-old Precious Flowers was driving a car that hit this tree along San Juan Road in Natomas back in May. 9 kids and another adult were also in the car. 2 kids and 1 adult did not survive. Mary Neal says fortunately her granddaughter, Uriah Neal, made it out alive.
I'm so blessed. I'm so happy my baby survived that car. Oh my God.
Neal believes Flowers packed all the kids in the car thinking it would be a short and safe trip down the road.
They had maybe 3 miles to go.
Unfortunately, Neal says, Rayshana Armstrong and her son Zayden were killed along with 5-year-old Alex, Uriah's cousin.
I was scared, yeah.
Still in her wheelchair with bandages and cuts all over her body, the 10-year-old says she remembers the moments leading up to the crash with her mother behind the wheel.
I just remember my mom slamming her brakes super hard, and then I looked at my cousin, and then I don't remember anything else after that.
Uriah says she didn't feel any pain, but was unsure of who was still alive, including her mom.
We went to the hospital. I didn't think she was alive. I didn't know if anybody was alive.
On Tuesday, Flowers faced a judge for the first time after being charged with 3 counts of vehicular manslaughter and 9 counts of child endangerment. But even with those charges, Uriah doesn't believe her mother did it on purpose.
I feel like it was an accident, and I do love her and miss her.
Now, the family is still in the process of planning funerals and doing what they can to help the people that are still recovering in the hospital. They do have a few GoFundMe pages, and we have posted a link to those on our website at abc10.com.
The young girl's grandma also told us that Precious Flowers was injured badly in that crash. She said that Precious had a broken neck, pelvis, ribs, and arm, and was on life support at that time. She will be back in court on June 22nd. All right, let's get into some other local stories that people are talking about today. A skateboarder who graduated from high school just last year is now fighting for his life. He was hit. It was a hit and run that he suffered from, and he was left in the middle of the street overnight on Sunday in Natomas. Someone called for help. They did find him. In an emotional interview, a cousin showed us where Guntej Paul Singh was actually hit on East Commerce Way. He's hoping anyone with information will come forward and, of course, talk to police. The Sacramento County Sheriff's Office now believes juveniles, possibly 8 of them, are behind these flag burnings in Antelope. 3 different homes had their pride flags taken and burned. Investigators say the group has been casing neighborhoods, possibly looking for targets. And a man and woman are the latest victims of gun violence in Del Paso Heights. The man and woman were found in a car with multiple gunshot wounds last night along North Avenue and Clay Street. It's the latest in the string of shootings that neighbors believe involve people outside of the area.
It does not reflect the overall residency of Del Paso Heights. There's overwhelmingly more good things and positive things.
On Monday, 2 men died after a shooting in nearby North Sacramento, and this was the scene nearly a week ago when 7 people were hurt in another incident at Del Paso's Rainbow Market. Our Roxana Leah spoke to one Del Paso Heights mother, calling for law enforcement to do more now.
Alex, the concern right now is that there will be more shootings and more murders if something doesn't change soon. A mother I spoke to earlier says she's scared for her two sons who are out of school right now and usually ride their bikes in the area.
Come to the neighborhood and see for yourself that it's crazy out here. You wouldn't want your kids here. Would you want your kids here? So it's like, you know, come out here, talk to us, talk to the people, do something with the people, and, you know, the people will answer back.
Sacramento police say the motive for Tuesday's shooting is under investigation. Now, if you have any concerns, you can join meetings with the association. That is with police at North Command off of Marysville Boulevard. They happen on the first Saturday of every month from 9:30 to 11. The next one will be on July 1st. Back to you in studio.
Thanks, Roxanne. All right, big news to talk about today that impacts our wallets. For the first time in more than a year, the Federal Reserve decided not to raise interest rates. So once a month, the Federal Reserve chairman steps up to the podium, gives a speech. Today, that person, Jerome Powell, of course, said that they were pausing rate increases for now as new numbers show that inflation has cooled but still remains a level double their target rate.
We have been seeing the effects of our policy tightening on demand in the most interest rate sensitive sectors of the economy. It will take time, however, for the full effects of monetary restraint to be realized.
Okay, so what does this mean for all of us? Well, interest rate hikes are still not out of the question, unfortunately. And as we all know, as rates go up, things do get more expensive, especially when you want to borrow money on things like credit cards and loans. And right now, things are still expensive, of course. Households are paying at about an average of $260 every month for the same goods and services compared to this time last year. All right, still ahead, more deaths in our rivers. One person drowning at just 19 years old. Friends calling him a gentle giant.
I'm still tracking showers and thunderstorms in the Sierra. We'll talk about how that plays into our weekend forecast.
And later in the show, ABC 10 investigates a controversy in Lake Tahoe over the idea of using poison to control a major threat to the lake.
What? What? They can't do that to Lake Tahoe.
We're back after this. Tonight, friends of 19-year-old Makai Clay are remembering him as a gentle giant. He drowned in Jenkinson Lake on Monday while on a camping trip in El Dorado County, and friends say that he loved everyone and everyone loved him. He was from Carmichael and worked at the Sunrise Rollerland in Citrus Heights. It is a reminder that our waterways are still very dangerous. Monica, it's so hard for me to hear these stories. I mean, such young lives cut so short. It's devastating.
Right. And it's not going to go anywhere soon in terms of our waters going down or warming up. We've been stuck in this unseasonably cool weather pattern. As you can see, showers and thunderstorms still occurring in the Sierra. We have a lot of cold water off the coast, and that's feeding us the moisture that we need. Every time a low pressure system comes in, it's going to draw up some active weather. As far as the most active weather, it is basically along the crest and right along that state line. And day by day, we've been kind of chipping away at the widespread activity. Cloud cover streaming in for tonight. That's keeping us just a little bit warmer and on the humid side. But if you're out for a walk or jog, temperatures will be comfortable. It's just the humidity a little bit higher. As you can see, our sunset not until 8:31. By 9 p.m. We're cooling to about 70s, 60s by 10 p.m. Our temperature trend is on the way up, so we're now kind of out of that cool phase into the warmer phase of our forecast. Average high 88 degrees. Will jump slightly above that for tomorrow and Friday. Today, though, we stayed right about average up and down the valley. 70s and 80s for the foothills and close to 70 up top for the Sierra. A slight shift in our weather pattern, very short-lived under that ridge of high pressure. We get that warmer weather. And then by the end of the weekend, here comes that next low. And that means for Father's Day, we actually see some unseasonably cool weather back in the outlook. And that includes the mountains with a mix of sun and clouds. No thunderstorms up there. Highs will drop into the 60s by the end of the weekend. For the foothills, you can see day by day over the weekend, we start to cool things down. By next Monday, we're in the 60s. And for the coast, a mix of sun and clouds, breezy Sunday and Monday. 10-day forecast. We've got Father's Day in there, Juneteenth, as well as the first day of summer. And all 3 days we'll see well below average highs, getting slightly warmer then by the end of the next work week.
Coming up after the break, poisoning Lake Tahoe. An ABC 10 investigation dives into the controversy over what some are calling an ecological disaster.
What? What? They can't do that to Lake Tahoe.
Yep, poison in Lake Tahoe's waters. It's an idea dividing locals and environmental groups, and it's already happening on a test basis. So think of it like chemotherapy to fight cancer. Poison was recently used to try and stop an invasive underwater weeds. Finally, my brain will catch up with my mouth here. But underwater weeds, which are like a threat in Lake Tahoe. So tonight, Brandon Ritteman has a closer look in our ABC 10 investigation at Lake Tahoe.
Spring in the Sierra. A great melt is underway. As drops trickle together down granite peaks, their force grows. This water is destined for a majestic place. Tahoe, the largest alpine lake in the Western Hemisphere and one of the clearest on Earth. Lake Tahoe's famous blue comes from water that's 99.994% pure. The rivers carry murky sediment, clouding lakes, but nature blessed Tahoe with an abundance of meadows and marshes. These slow down the water, trapping sediment, a perfect natural water filter. For millennia, the largest marsh in all the Sierra naturally filtered the largest tributary to the lake, the Upper Truckee River. But today, Lake Tahoe's filter is lost to development.
In the 60s, it was destroyed. The owner came in and started dredging out to make these lagoon areas.
Well, we're standing in a large housing development called the Tahoe Keys, built right in the middle of a former marsh.
There's 1,200 homes and 300 condominiums. Everybody in the Keys has a dock.
This is the biggest ecological disaster in California.
We could potentially lose the lake.
We're here because a homeowners association has been given permission to apply poison to Lake Tahoe.
Yes.
Yes. That sentence blows my mind a little bit.
Yes, as it should everyone.
Activist Toby Tyler's in a fervent debate over the solution, but everyone agrees on the problem.
It's a nursery for invasive weeds.
Decades ago, invasive plants got into the water, either from a boat or a carelessly dumped fish tank. Each summer, the stagnant canals warm and burst with aquatic weeds. It takes a fleet of harvester boats to keep the canals open.
These are big floating lawnmowers. They chop the top 4 feet of the plants up onto a conveyor belt.
Every year, they chop out enough weeds to fill 1,000 dumpsters, costing millions to the Tahoe Keys Property Owners Association and costing even more to Lake Tahoe's health.
The problem is these plants spread by fragment, and chopping them off with a harvester creates millions of fragments.
A curtain of bubbles at the mouth of the Keys is designed to knock fragments off the boats. Even so, some escape. Lake Tahoe's 22 miles long and 12 miles wide. The weeds have crossed it, causing new infestations in every direction, including iconic Emerald Bay. They do real harm. Invasive plants provide cover to invasive fish. Tahoe has populations of goldfish now and largemouth bass, which compete with and eat the native fish. Weeds also break down into nutrients, feeding toxic algae blooms, ruining the lakeshore.
Currently, the biggest threat to keeping Tahoe blue instead of it turning green is this development.
But it's all about the money. It's all about lakefront owners and their property rights.
It's always 10 degrees warmer right here than elsewhere, right? Because we get the sun and the open and the no trees. This place is magic.
Pete Wolcott and his wife moved to the Keys a few years ago.
Did you know you were moving into the biggest ecological disaster man has inflicted on Lake Tahoe?
Whoa, okay. Wow, no, we didn't frame it precisely that way when we put in our offer. Great point. We didn't know about the weeds.
Pete sits on the HOA board while the Tahoe Keys uses the first permit ever to allow herbicides in Lake Tahoe waters. Last spring, in a one-time test run, they applied 2 different chemicals, triclopyr and endothol.
We're using 50-year-old EPA-approved, California and federal EPA-approved products, and they're really not that dangerous.
Double barriers closed off the test lagoons until the chemicals dissipated to undetectable levels. But for triclopyr, that took the whole boating season.
It took until September 22nd, 15 weeks.
Pete thinks the standards were too strict. Opponents think the test should never have been allowed.
This was wrong. This was very wrong, this project.
Toby Tyler volunteers with the Sierra Club, which sued the Lahontan Water Board for issuing the herbicide permit. They argue the water board broke its own rules by failing to fully test non-chemical methods first. We never interviewed water board officials. They wouldn't agree to talk without knowing our questions in advance, citing the Sierra Club lawsuit.
When I've talked to the public about this, everyone says, what? What? They can't do that to Lake Tahoe.
But environmental groups are split. The League to Save Lake Tahoe, the group behind those blue bumper stickers, is for the herbicide test.
You have to be pragmatic about what's possible politically.
Jesse Patterson hears opponents calling for walling off the Keys from the lake or restoring its most stagnant parts back into wetlands. He just doesn't see it happening.
Property rights, they have some standing in this country. A little bit. There's over $2 billion in real estate here.
He's hoping the test finds a way to use herbicides differently in Lake Tahoe, to use chemicals once to knock weeds back and then keep them back without herbicides.
One application of the herbicide, yeah, right.
Laurel Ames has lived at the lake since 1947. She ran the League to Save Lake Tahoe back when the Tahoe Keys was developed.
To put herbicides in this lake just upsets me so much.
To her, the idea of using chemicals is the same rash thinking that allowed the Keys to be built in the first place.
And it was a marsh, but the developer called it a swamp.
That swamp was Lake Tahoe's lungs.
Cancer is a great analogy for something like this.
Lake Tahoe has a sort of lung cancer. The debate now, do we treat it with chemo? Behind that question, we've got a deeper one.
We are loving the lake to death.
Nature gave us this jewel of the Sierra. How long can we keep it?
Any future use of chemicals would need a new permit, and for the next 2 years, the Keys will try to keep the weeds back without any chemicals. If you would like to learn more or even share your thoughts, you can always text us at 916-321-3310. All right, still ahead, following vicious attacks in broad daylight, the actions being taken tomorrow along Sacramento's Stockton Boulevard. Welcome back. Over the past few weeks, we have been reporting on vicious attacks along Stockton Boulevard in South Sacramento. In this one incident, 4 people attacked a man outside of a cafe in broad daylight. The man told us that he fought back and the group ran away. These vicious attacks appear to be targeting Asians, and now tomorrow night, law enforcement will hold a town hall with the community.
On average in this area, in the Central Division, which is our South Sacramento area, we average roughly between 200 to 250 robbery reports per year. Now, and that's just in this South Sacramento area. From there, roughly 40% of those robberies occur within that Stockton Boulevard, Florin Road area.
Now, if you do want to attend, the town hall will be held this Thursday at 7 p.m. at the Sheriff's Florin Station Community Room. Of course, we will be bringing you coverage right here on To The Point tomorrow at 6:30. As always, we want to hear from you. Let us know what's going on in your community. I've got Instagram, Facebook, or you can just always send me an email at tothepoint@abc10.com. I hope you have a great night. I'll see you here tomorrow. Hey, it's Alex. Just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I really love hearing from everyone, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. Reach out to me on Facebook at AlexBellTV, or you can email me at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can even send me a text message at 916-321-3310.